All right. Good morning, everybody. It's Jim Freeman from Silverbridge Senior Transitions and the JP Freeman team at Coldwell Banker, Park Shore. I'm here with, this is going to be fun. You're going to like this because it's a great story and it's a story about success. But I'm here with Melanie Power, who is the daughter of Vera Cook and her husband, Jim Cook. And Melanie and I and her sister, Tammy, worked together with Vera and Jim to help them move from their home in Kitsap County because they were at a point in their life where they needed some additional care and could use some help. And they chose on their own to move into an assisted living place nearby. But as usual, there are all kinds of obstacles. Uh, there were, uh, stuff to get rid of, work to do on the house to prepare it for sale, uh, get it properly inspected and so forth, priced correctly. But it's a little bit of a long story, so I hope you'll all stay with us because we got a really great surprise at the end, as you're going to hear. But Melanie, why don't you just give us a few bullet points about who you are and what you do?
Melanie Power. I've been an administrative manager for 25 years, um, working with my parents to realize that it was probably time to move to a place that needed to get provided a little more care for them. So began that process a little over a year ago, probably just starting to look around at places that might be a good fit for them. But along the way, they'd been married for 53 years. So had a lifetime of accumulations that needed to be sorted through, all sorts of things that we needed to figure out to start this next phase of their lives.
Right. So you're solving the dilemma or the problem started with figuring out where they were going to go. Is that right?
Correct.
Right. And have you done this before? Have you researched?
No,
Okay, so how did that
no.
go?
Well, they largely did this part of it themselves.
Hmm.
So fiercely independent at this point, and they wanted to find the place that felt right for them. So that was their decision at that point.
Okay. How easy was it to find out information and compare and contrast the benefits of various places?
They really didn't involve me too much in that part of it. So they kind of just came to me at the last part of it and said, "Hey, we found the place that feels like home to us. We
Oh,
found the place that we want to move into." So
okay.
that was it for them.
But they had some assistance with that. Uh,
Absolutely,
yeah,
yes.
a lady named Denise Callahan from Oasis Senior Advisors. All right. So once they found the place, then it was, well, why don't you describe what the next steps were?
Well, then it was go time because they had a home full of possessions. They needed to downsize. They had decided on a two-bedroom apartment, but that still left quite a bit of stuff that needed to find a new home. In addition, there had been some things that needed to be taken care of with the house to get it ready to go on the market.
Right. And, let's talk a little bit about what that means exactly. So, your mother and Jim were both very interested in maximizing what they could get from the home. This was important because it was a big part of their future uh, ability to pay for assisted living and for long-term care. So it's important that uh, sellers, well, any seller really, but seniors in particular, uh, look at it as maybe kind of their last shot at putting some markers up there that they can use for their care. And uh, there's a hierarchy of buyers in markets. I've sold over 600 homes in my career, so I have a vision of what the landscape of buyers looks like. And the thing I want to say about it is, if you want to maximize what you get out of the sale of your home, you really want to try to sell it to somebody who wants to live there. So owner occupant purchasers usually are going to be the ones that will pay the most for it. Uh, and however, there's a catch, and the catch is that 80% of those types of people need to borrow money in order to buy your home. So, uh, so the task really, and the the wrong question to ask is, what's the highest price I can sell it for? The right question to ask is, how much money can I put in my pocket at closing? How do I maximize that? Because there are things that you can do to prepare a home. You can guess, that you might need a new kitchen or, stuff. Uh, but there's something called the cost versus value report, which I provided to Jim and Vera. And there are only, according to the best data we have available, there's only very few items that you want to do to, I don't know, bring up the quality of the home to a point where you can at least get back what you spend in additional value for upgrades that you might do. So the process really is determining the condition of the home. In this case, I recommended to Jim that we do a home inspection, that he pay for that. Your mother kind of objected to that, but but
That sounds right.
but we did, and the cost I think was around $600, and then that gave us a list. And working with a lady by the name of Shireen Nurmi from American Pacific Mortgage, we went through the deficiencies that were found in the inspection process, and we determined which ones would stop the home itself from being qualified for various financing programs. Because what we don't want to do is wipe out 80% of our prospective market by offering a home that can't qualify for financing. So we did that. And by the way, I'm talking a lot here because Melanie wasn't involved at this point. But we got the inspection. We determined the list of things to correct. Jim was great. He could do a lot himself in terms of management and so forth, not physically, but he could manage things very well. Very smart guy. And so I fed him vendors and people that could help him with various aspects of this. And he sorted out who he wanted to work with, and he negotiated prices where he wanted to. And he was able, Jim and Vera had funds available to do this work themselves and didn't require what we call a transition loan, although had they needed that, that was available to them. And so we went through a process. We had to replace the hot water tank. We had to, you know, fix some electrical outlets or some couple of plumbing leaks, blah, blah, blah. Nothing really major, but it took time. It took probably about 30 days to get all that done. And I believe Melanie, your sister Tammy, and I don't know, maybe you too, assisted with getting rid of some of the personal belongings. You showed up and uh, Jim and Vera were shoveling it out the door into your cars and taking it away. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it was Tammy kind of came with a truck and a trailer and took all the things that she felt that she wanted to have, and I followed behind. And I have a little bit different taste than her, so that worked out well. We wanted different things out of the house.
Hmm.
I At one point I walked out with a handful of crochet hooks that I could use. So
Hmm.
and that then left everything else that was mom and dad picked through the rest of it just to make sure they didn't leave any treasures behind. And then at that point, got the home ready for estate sale.
Right. And so as I recall, we used Blue Nest Home there.
Correct. Yes.
So Blue Nest Home is a local estate sale management company. And why don't you describe their process a little bit and what the results were?
I wasn't terribly involved in that piece of it. Dad was still managing everything at that point. At one point, he was really excited to send me the link to the auction, online auction, where all the merchandise was available. So we were able to keep an eye on that, and they were excited to check in kind of every day and see what was being bidded on. And then at the end, it was very easy as far as Blue Nest had arranged for all the buyers to come pick up their products, and then did the final clean out of all remaining stuff that was left in the home. So it was very, very simple process for them.
Very simple for them. It's a
Yes.
complicated process to achieve. And just to fill in a few blanks here, uh, Jim had to write a check, a deposit to Blue Nest Home. Blue Nest Home charged for time involved in doing actual work, and they took a percentage of the sales. I think it's 25% of the back end sales. And some people, and as you say, you and your sister kind of got your stuff first. So the entire amount of personal property that might have been available wasn't available, but still they got a pretty good result. Uh, and the best news was that of the remaining personal property that was there, uh, the the good news was that people paid Jim and Vera to come and pick it up and take it away, as opposed to having them pay somebody to come and haul it to the dump or a donation. So that's really the best result you can hope for most of the time. And I would say, in my experience at Blue Nest, people get a check back after the sale is concerned, maybe half the time. Other times they have to write a check for it. But as you say, nobody came to the house except on that one day. They had to pay in advance in order to do that. So there was no negotiating and all that kind of stuff. That took place entirely online in the auction process. So hats off to Blue Nest Home. Angel Pensanti, I think, helped them out.
Yes.
And so then we had some movers, and they came and uh, identified the stuff that your folks wanted to move down to their new home. And how'd that go?
I wasn't really involved in that piece of it. Dad was still running the show at that point. They picked out everything that they wanted. So by the time that I came to pick up the things that I wanted out of there, they had already successfully moved all of their big belongings out.
Right.
So they were
And
they were all settled.
from my viewpoint, no news is good news. So I didn't hear any complaints about it. So I think it went pretty well.
I
I
think so too.
Yeah, I think it was Sarah Weimer from United Moving and Storage that helped out on that. All right, so now we got the house clean, we got the inspection done, we did some work, we had a re-inspection. The inspector came back and certified which things were done and which were not, and then we started the marketing process. And prior to that point, I believe that in our communication with Jim and Vera, you and Tammy were both included. So at least you may not have been involved in, making decisions or helping, but at least you were informed on what the process was and
Correct.
and how things were going. And how'd that work out for you?
Went great. Mom and Dad were really excited to see, think the process moving along, and so they'd like to see the emails and updates and everything. So it was pretty kind of hands off for them at that point, which I think was a big relief after the stress of moving and getting everything ready to go.
Yeah, some people think they want to be involved in that, but they really don't. They just want to know what's happening and when it's happening and when's it going to be over and how much am I going to get.
Exactly.
So anyway, so we began the process. As I recall, it took maybe 45 to 60 days from the time that I first met Jim and Vera to the point where we got it on the market. That happened to be in the dark, rainy months of the fourth quarter of the year. But all that, we had a pretty good result initially with the marketing. We had a number of showings, and I provided Jim and Vera and you and Tammy with a pretty detailed report on housing market statistics, year over year averages, where trends were moving, uh, comparisons to other people's experience. And as I recall, the number of showings we had exceeded the average number of showings that other homes in the marketplace were achieving at that point. Still, there was a problem. What was the problem, Melanie?
People came, people weren't buying,
No
people weren't
offers. No
offering. Yeah.
offers. And after, 2, maybe 3 weeks, um, the showing stopped. It was crickets. It was like midnight. And this worried me. And so I talked to Jim and Vera. Uh, Both your mother and your father were going through some difficult medical issues at that point. So I was very grateful that you were able to step in particular, and I was able to communicate with you. And I think you had a great way of communicating with your mother. Much better than me. And so I'm very grateful for that. And another thing I want to point out to people who are watching this conversation is that Jim and you and Tammy all were on the same page together, and Jim and Vera had done a good job of hiring an attorney to prepare all their estate documents, so that when needed, you had a power of attorney for them, and everything was pre-planned. You know, it was known what to do, and this came in handy during the process. So. So congratulations to them and to you for doing that. But we were at Crickets, and however, there were people in the marketplace, the similar marketplace around where this home was located, who were selling homes. And guess what? It was the new home builders. And your your parents' home was at that point 29 years old or 28 years old. They had put a new roof on it, so it was in pretty good shape. But they're, like even new homes have things that are not quite right. And over time, things age, things happen. So it was not in perfect condition. We didn't want to put it in Sunset Magazine condition because that would cost too much and we would not recover the amount needed to make the investment to do that. We wanted to maximize the net proceeds amount for your parents at closing. So so we put it on the market. I said, Melanie, we need to change things up. And you said, what? What do we need to change? So I showed you what these new homes, competing new homes look like. And uh, when we were on a Zoom call together and I was showing you the pictures of these new homes and what they look like, what their size was and so forth. And what did you say when you saw that?
My parents' home clearly was outdated compared to the new homes. That the new homes are seem to be what people are looking for right now. Um, so there was no comparison at that point.
Well, what I'm going to remember what you said,
Okay,
and
thank
and
you.
and 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 what you said when I showed you this new home. You said that's the same home, and it was a one level home, three bedrooms, one and three-quarter baths with a two-car garage, and uh, our price was a little bit over what those new homes were selling for. And there was another feature, another benefit that the builders were offering every quarter. At the end of the quarter, they would offer either upgrades to, the materials and so forth, but they would also offer 30-year fixed rate financing below 5%. And at the time, the best that we could offer to potential buyers of your mother's home was the market rate, which was 6 3/8. Quite a difference. And over the life of the loan, the difference between those two rates would save some buyer $180,000, $200,000. So that's pretty significant. So what did I ask you to do?
You asked me to consider locking in a lower rate, just like the big builders were doing in the same area. Let's see if we can get some serious offers this way instead of doing a whole bunch of price drops.
So how did you feel about that?
Um, I thought it made sense because the price drop that we had done hadn't moved the needle significantly for us. And if we were going to be competitive with these builders with their lower rates, we probably needed to do something similar.
Okay, well, this is why I love working with you because because you were able to look at the data objectively and decide that we did need to change it up. And I want to emphasize this point. So your mother's and father's home was a nice home and it was in a good location, a lot of good features about it. It was a home that I would enjoy living in. However, it was 28 years old and not in perfect condition. And not your this is not unique to your parents' home, but home prices are very high, and only a small majority of households with a median income can afford the median home price. So in addition to location and, razzmatazz and, do they like the flooring? Do they like the colors? People's first questions when they're home shopping is how much down and how much a month. That's really the first answer that you have to come up with. And dropping the price certainly helps, but it doesn't help as much as the difference that you would have to pay as a seller to buy that rate down to something that would significantly increase the pool of prospective buyers for the home. Uh, so there we were in the dark, crickets, nothing was happening. Uh, Congratulations, uh, and your mother. You talked to your mother, and she agreed to spend $1,000, $1,000. This home was priced in the mid fives, 550, 560. And uh, so for $1,000, you paid an option fee to find out if answering the affordability concerns of prospective buyers in the marketplace would attract them to come take a look and better yet, to make an offer. And so we did that. We changed up our marketing procedures a little bit. We did some different advertising. And what happened next?
Game changer. It instantly started getting offers. It started getting serious buyers asking about the financing. It changed everything for us.
It changed immediately.
Yes.
And as I recall, the first week after we made the change to our offer, we had something like 8 showings, maybe 10. And what else happened?
Um, we started getting offers.
Not just one, we got
We had
multiple offers.
we were juggling offers.
We were
Yes.
juggling offers. It was like the good old days of, 2020. And uh, now the experience was that, and the one that as I recall, we went with first was a cash offer contingent on the sale of another home. And that particular buyer didn't care about our low rate offer. He said, I just like the house, but how did he saw it because of the offer, the fact that it had the low rate offer caught his attention, caught the attention of the broker that represented him. We went under contract, and for one reason or another, he didn't want to follow through, so he canceled his offer. But we had another one as a backup, which we entered into contract with that, and uh, they went through an inspection process. They decided not to move forward. Then we got 2 more offers at the same time that happened, and one of them was again contingent on the sale of another home, but she had a large down payment. But she also wanted to take advantage of the low rate offer that your mother was offering. And because she had such a large down payment, the cost of that to your mother would have been greatly reduced, maybe by half. Uh, and, she owned a home in Arizona. She was trying to move back to Washington. We entered into contract. We kind of, did a little real estate jujitsu and kept that other offer in our, in a conversation, the fourth offer. And eventually, uh, the lady with the contingent offer got her home on the market. Things were going all right. But, a couple of weeks went by, things weren't happening. And the fourth offer, the fourth backup offer, uh, actually wanted to do a backup. And so we did that, and uh, came to a point where uh, this is a little in the weeds here, but they wanted to put the question to the third contract holder, as to whether they were going to move forward and remove their contingency. So we did that. That lady decided she was not confident enough of the sale of her home to move forward. So the other one moved into first position. We entered into contract with them. They were fully interested in the low rate offer and took full advantage of it, but they were willing to pay a little more, and they they moved their offer up, which offset the contribution that your mother would have had to pay at closing in order to deliver an assignment of this low rate offer. But she did that. So, there was some pain involved on your mother's part, but was she happy about the fact that it happened?
Absolutely thrilled.
Yeah,
Absolutely thrilled. Yeah.
yeah. So price negotiation is not Mortal Kombat. It's negotiation, it's discussion, and people, buyers and sellers have different opinions. But the best benefit that any seller can have, the best benefit I can deliver to somebody is to have plenty of conversations going on, so that as these things happen, and they happen frequently, in all negotiations, that you always have an alternative and you have a way of accomplishing the goal, which is to sell it in the least amount of time for the highest possible achievable price with the least amount of friction. That's the objective. So looking back, Melanie, uh, how would you characterize the overall process? How did it go? And would you do it again?
It was actually kind of fun. And yes, I would do it again. Especially the part once things got moving and you and I were talking every day.
Yeah, we
Okay, what do you
were.
think?
Yeah.
And it just kept once started things started going, they just kept moving until we got that house sold. So I enjoyed it. I would do
Did,
it again.
did you feel you were fully informed of what was going on and what the implications were, and you could measure accurately what the differences were?
Yes, because I was getting, emails with all the information I needed. I could review everything. I could do side by side comparisons of all the offers. So I had a pretty good idea of what we were accepting each time and how that was going to turn out for us.
Okay. Well, that's about it. It was my pleasure to work with you, Millie. I'm glad your mom and dad ultimately chose me to work with them. Uh, I really got to know Jim in particular pretty well and enjoyed him a lot. And uh, I, you know, I don't have anything bad to say about the whole process myself. And I hope we'll be able to do it sometime again. And, what would you say to people who are watching this? Would you recommend me, and if necessary, if they wanted to, would you be willing to talk to them as a personal reference?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I think you started kind of holding my parents by the hand through this process, and then we kind of literally handed off to me
Hmm.
partway through, and it was an absolute pleasure working with you.
That's a good place to end it. So thank you very much. And we'll stop the recording right now.